Welcome to the Math Turbochargers virtual classroom. If you're in this room with me, it's because you have watched a video on YouTube on how to graph a line when given an equation, and these are the 8 questions that you were told to practice. So let's get started. So question number 1, it asks us to go ahead and graph this particular equation, y equals negative x, okay? Now, the first question or fill in the blank here is, what is the y-intercept? Well, when I remove my x, I don't see a y-intercept. In this case, you need to know that your y-intercept is 0. Now, the reason why I have this as your first question is because I cannot graph a line without an intercept. So I need to go to 0 and put my first point. From here, I can use my slope or my GPS to graph several more points to create this line. So now let's find our slope. So once again, this is a tricky question because I know my slope is always attached to my x and I don't see a number. Well, in math, when you have a variable and no number in front, that number is 1. This is y. If I have 1 times 3, that's going to give me 3. If I have negative 1 times 2, that's going to give me negative 2. If I have 1 times x, that's going to give me x. And if I have negative 1 times x, that's going to give me negative x. Remember, anytime you multiply anything times 1, it's going to remain itself. So in this case, my slope is negative 1. Now remember, every slope has to be in fraction form. If I have a whole number, I need to turn it into a fraction by putting a 1, okay? Because we need to go down because it's negative, and then we need to go to the right at least 1 time to create that slope, okay? So now let's go ahead and create more points using our slope. So from my y-intercept, I go down 1 cross here. Then I go to the right 1, down 1, right 1. I create my point. Okay. Let's create a few more points so we can have a nice precision line. Okay, once again, I go down just 1 cross here, and then to the right, another cross here. Okay, and now that I see my pattern here, I can just add several more points to create a nice long line. Okay. Now I'm going to take my line tool and connect those dots. And here I have a line. Now, let's answer these questions below. Looking at my line, I can see that it's highest on the left. So this is a negative line. That means it's decreasing, it's going down, it's a negative line. And I can see that it's not flat. I can see that it's not straight up and down. It has a slant to it. So that means it's a diagonal line. Okay, let's go to question 2. Once again, this particular question says y equals 2, and this question has no slope. So we have 0 slope here. Okay, we have no slope. Okay, but I do have a y-intercept of 2. So I need to go to 2. Okay, and I need to draw a line straight through my point there. Okay, so straight through my point. Okay. Notice I did not try to draw a line on the y-axis. I drew a line straight through that point, okay? All right, so now I can see I have a horizontal line. It's laying down. So let's go ahead and check off horizontal. And it's neither positive or negative. This is considered a 0 slope. It do exist, it's just 0. okay? All right, now I have x equals -6. So here I don't have a y-intercept. Uh-oh. And I also don't have a slope. Uh-oh. But I do have -6, and since they want me to graph this, I am going to go to my x-axis, and I'm going to put a point on -6 and draw a line through it. Okay. Now, you can already tell that there's something wrong here because we have no y-intercept and no slope. So this line is considered to be undefined. Okay. And if you ever heard of a vertical line test, we know that this cannot be a function because if I was to use a vertical line and touch my function, it touches this function more than one time. Actually, it touches this function forever. So this is not even a true function, okay? This is a horizontal line, horizontal line. I'm so sorry. This is a vertical line, okay? Vertical, standing straight up, okay? All right, question number 4. Tricky one again. I love to give you tricky ones. So this problem did not give me an equation at all. It gave me a point. So -3 and 2. -3, so I need to go, remember this is your x, just like the alphabet, x comes before y. So I need to go down to -3, don't put a point until I need to go left -3, and then I need to go up to 2. Okay, remember x is negative, so I start at my 0. And I move 1, 2, 3, and then I go up to 2, and there's a point. Now they want me to graph y, so if I was to go ahead and graph y, I'm just going to put a line straight through, okay, at this point. Okay. So there I just graphed the y portion, okay? Now this is a horizontal line. So once we see a horizontal line, we know that slope is considered 0 here, okay? But we have and a y-intercept of +2, okay? All right, now this is where the fun starts. So now we can see we actually do have a y-intercept, and this one is a 4. And not only is it 4, it's a +4. And then once again, I have that -1 as a slope. So I'm going to remember to put a 1 underneath. So the first thing I'm going to do is start at my y-intercept, which is +4. So that's up top here. Okay. And then I'm going to use my GPS to go down 1 and to the right 1. Okay. So once again, I go down 1 and to the right, down and to the right, down and to the right, down and to the right. And I can keep going until I run off the graph here. Okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and connect those dots with my little line tool here. And I can see that this line is high on the left side, which means that it's a negative slope, okay? I also can see here that my slope is negative. So let's go ahead and check off negative, and this line is a diagonal line, okay? All right, moving right along. Here I have a y-intercept of -4. So the first thing I need to do is go to -4 and put a dot. And this time my slope is given to me. I don't have to put a 1 underneath, it's just 1/3. And I can see that this is a positive slope. So from my y-intercept, this positive means to go up. So I need to go up 1 unit, but then I need to go to the right 3 units, okay? So here we go. We go, don't remember, never ever count the spot that you're in. You go up 1 and over 1, 2, 3, and write a point. Okay, up 1, 1, 2, 3. Up 1, 1, 2, And I kind of ran a space there. So now this one, I'm going to extend my line. So remember, when you extend your line, you just do the opposite. So instead of going up one, I'm going to go down. Instead of going to the right, I am going to go to the left just to extend my line. Down one, 1, 2, 3. Remember, you only go left when you're extending your line. Down one, 1, 2, 3. Okay. And why do we extend that line? We extend this line so we can have a line that's more precision, more accurate, okay? So the more dots, the more accurate your line becomes, okay? So now I can take a look at this line. I see that it's high on the right, so I know that it has to be positive, and the slope says it's positive. And also I see that this line is on a slant, so I can see that it's diagonal. So I'm gonna go ahead and mark off a positive line, and this line is on a diagonal, okay? All right, once again, we have one of those tricky kind of questions. I don't see a y-intercept here, so I know it's 0. So let's go to 0 and put our first point. I do see that I have a negative slope. It's -3, but there is no bottom. So I'm going to put a 1 on the bottom, okay? So this tells me I need to go down 3. And then to the right, just 1, okay? So from this slope, I'm going to go down 1, 2, 3, and over 1, and there's my point. Let's do this again. Down 1, 2, 3, and over 1. Now, because I only have 3 dots, I want to make a nice long line. I'm going to extend my line by doing the opposite. So I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3, and over 1. Up 1, 2, 3, and over 1. Ooh, that is a very steep line. Okay, so let's connect those dots. And there it shows it's high on the left. So because it's high on the left, I know that this line is negative. I also know it's negative because I can see it's negative. Okay, and this line is on a diagonal. Okay. Last but not least, we have this equation to go ahead and graph. Now this one we will be doing more in another video because I will be teaching you guys how to do inverse operations and to isolate a variable. So for this particular problem, I have to get this back into slope-intercept form, okay? I cannot graph it like this. Y equals mx plus b. Now there is a different strategy by plugging in 0 that I can get 2 points to graph. But that's not the strategy we're using today. We need to get y by itself, okay? So to do this, the first thing I need to do is I'm going to set my problem up. -2 times x minus 2 times y equal 4, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this entire 2 times x. Now, this problem has 2 terms on the left, and what that just means is this -2x is one term, and then I see another operation that's either negative or positive that represents another term, which is -2y. So let's move the -2x by doing the opposite. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. Plus 2x. Okay, well, -2 plus 2 is 0. Okay, and 0 times x is 0. So it cancels out on the left, but because we have an equal sign, whatever we do to the left, we have to do to the right, okay? So I'm going to add that 2x over here. Now notice, I am not going to combine 4 plus 2x because they're not the same type of term. In order for me to combine them, it would have had to be 4x plus 2x. Then I can say I have 6 x's, okay? But it doesn't say that, so they just hang out together, okay? So now that this is gone, I am left with -2 times y, okay? And I know this is 2 times y because when I look at this, there is nothing in between the 2 and the y. So what do I mean by that, okay? When I look at this, I do not see -2 plus y. I do not see -2 minus y, and I do not see -2 divided by y. I see -2 and y stuck together with nothing in between. This is multiplication, and we need to separate by doing the opposite. Now I'm just going to divide by the -2, okay, and only the -2 because I want to leave the y. -2 divided by -2 is +1, and 1 times y is just y. And then I'm going to divide each term over here on the left. I'm going to divide each one by -2, okay? So I'm going to divide this 4 by -2, and I'm going to divide this +2 by -2, okay? 4 divided by -2 is going to be a -2. And then +2 divided by -2 is actually going to be a -x. So here I can see my slope is -x, which is -1 over 1. And my y-intercept is -2. So now I can graph this line. I have to start at my -2, put a dot there. My slope says negative, so I go down 1, and then I go to the right 1. Okay. So let's go ahead and create this line using our slope. Down 1 and to the right, down 1 and to the right, down and to the right, and down and to the right. All right, now I'm going to extend it by doing the opposite, going up and to the left. You only do the opposite if you're good at doing it the right way. If you still need work with doing it down and to the right, don't try to extend your line yet, okay? Up and to the left, up 1, left 1, up 1, left 1, and we can keep going, but I'm going to stop there, okay? So now I'm going to connect these dots, and there I have my line, and I can see that my line is negative, okay? It's high on the left. That is true because it's negative here. So let's go ahead and circle negative, okay? It's a negative line, and it's definitely on a diagonal. All right, my lovelies, that is it. Thank you for hanging out with Ms. Lewis inside her Math Turbochargers classroom, and I hope to see you here soon.